Hello and welcome to our guide to driving the Pacific Coast Highway. This guide covers one of the most desirable sections of the road, the Big Sur coastline between Monterey, California and Morro Bay, California. We take a drive down the coastline and show you all the best pullouts and top stops along the way. This is a stunning section of coastline with towering sea cliffs, ancient forests, wonderful wildlife, beautiful beaches and some of the most mind-blowing vistas on Earth. Get ready for Big Sur, California. We start off in Monterey Bay, head around the Pacific Grove headland, through Carmel, onto Route 1 and head straight down the PCH stopping at Morro Bay. This is the ideal route, but actually on this trip we were restricted to how far down the road we could go, with road closures in place at Lime Creek Slide and Paul Slide. The road is in a constant state of flux and the whole route has been closed through traffic for a couple of years now, but we are hopeful by the time you see this, it will be back open. If not, you may need to do what we did and turn around. You still get to see most of the sights, but you have to be willing to only see what you can from the side you choose. For us, we always drive north to south because it's just better, as all the pullouts and vistas are on your side of the highway, and you do not need to look across or pull through traffic. On this actual drive, we turned around at Lime Creek and headed back to Monterey, which was around 100 miles of driving. The through route is 125-ish miles and takes around 3 hours, but ignore that timeline as it takes so much longer with the endless pullouts, vistas and stops. This is a full day drive. While we suggest Morro Bay for an overnight, you could push on to Pismo Beach, San Luis Obispo or even Santa Barbara, but really that is a bit far and we definitely don't suggest pushing all the way through to LA as you will be very tired and miss out on so much. Okay, onto the actual drive. As we had to turn around, some of our stops are not in a logical order, so you may see some differences in light as we hit them on the way back, but we wanted to show you in the order you would see them if you did a through drive. A few stops were also not available to us as they were after the road closures, but again, we have visited these in the past. We actually spent the morning whale watching as we were happy to be on the road all day, and we were hoping the sun would burn off as much of the fog as possible and we could catch the sunset on the way back. First stop was the beautiful Lovers Point. Here we grabbed a coffee and watched the ground squirrels play amongst the rocks. If this place looks familiar, it's possibly because it's heavily used in the TV show Big Little Lies. This is a really beautiful headland and well worth visiting for a beach day if you have a little more time, but it becomes a must stop on this route simply for the ground squirrels. While this is not a true Pacific Coast Highway stop, it is definitely worth hitting on your way out of Monterey. We spent some time here just relaxing and exploring the point before jumping in the car and hitting the road again. The next section took us around the rugged and beautiful Pacific Grove headland along Ocean View Boulevard. You can carry this on a long 17-mile drive, but there is a toll and we wanted to get moving, so we cut across the headland into Carmel and off along the Pacific Coast Highway towards Stop 2, Point Lobos State Natural Reserve. We have included mile marker info, but they are pretty hard to spot to be honest. On the Monterey side, they count down from 73 miles down to 0, then switch back to 73 as you cross into San Luis Obispo County, marked with either MON or SLO respectively. Point Lobos Park charges a fee, but you can park outside on the road carefully and hike in if you want, but you should be able to use the parking pass for the other state parks along the route if on the same day. The park is really beautiful and not one to be missed, so even if you can't fit it into your PCH day, find another time. The park mainly consists of a series of short, easy hiking trails around the point's headlands and bays. These are filled with pristine kelp forests and are home to multiple species of seabirds, harbour seals, otters and sea lions. There is an awful lot going on under the water, and this area offers some of the best diving in the region, but even from above it's stunningly beautiful as the ragged cypress trees contrast the bare rock and crystal clear ocean water. Make sure you find time for this spot. Back on the road, we head through the very affluent Carmel Highlands before picking up the real Pacific Coast Highway. The first section offers stunning views of the rugged coast as the Santa Lucia Mountains start to tumble into the Pacific Ocean. This brings us to stop 3, the iconic and stunning Bixby Bridge. When anyone mentions the Pacific Coast Highway, the first image that springs to mind is Bixby Bridge. It's even found its way onto this video's thumbnail. Really, you just can't drive the highway and not stop to take in this engineering masterpiece. But remember, everybody else will also be stopping. There are a few roadside spaces, but you have to be very lucky to bag one of those, and otherwise you need to head into the parking lot, which is little more than a dirt side road, and it is utter chaos. In the short time we were there, we saw 3 accidents, with cars driving into one another or just driving into the dirt banks. It was chaos, and an expensive insurance claim on the cards, so try and park as far away from the madness as possible, as some cars were driven into while the owners were not even there. There are some great vista points on both sides of the road, and the bridge is really stunning, an engineering masterpiece that straddles this stunning deep valley. After taking in the bridge, we headed a little way up the dirt track to get some more distant shots, and amazingly we found a California condor just chilling by the side of the road. Amazing to see, as these incredible birds were at one point extinct in the wild until an amazing and successful repopulation effort brought them back from past the brink. After battling through the traffic, we got back onto the highway and continued south. There are some great lookout points here where you get stunning views up and down the coast, including the bridge from a distance. By now, the fog was mostly burnt off and we were able to enjoy the highway in our open-top Mustang. Here you will also pass the Big Sur Point Lighthouse, but you can only visit this via an organised tour. The road then turns inland slightly and heads into the Big Sur. Here the pine trees and redwoods start to soar upwards, and the road passes through a large valley where you arrive at Pfeiffer Big Sur State Park. This is where we wish we could offer you smell-o-vision, as the scent of the pine trees as you head through the valley is quite inspirational. This is a great place to stop. There are several great hiking trails such as Valley View, Pfeiffer Falls and Buzzard's Roost, all getting you up high and overlooking the coast and the valley. We were not in hiking mode today, so we only stopped briefly here, but the area is well worth spending some time in, as there are numerous little shops, cafes and restaurants. It's also a great spot to stay over, as there are several large campsites. We, however, just headed onwards. The next stop is Pfeiffer Beach Park. We should note, this is one of the stops we hit on the way back, as we knew the sun would be lower and the light better, but we want to mention it here as the order makes more sense. As you start heading out of Big Sur, there is a small road to the right that leads you down to the beach. This is a long, narrow, winding road with regular pullouts to allow oncoming traffic to pass. For those unaccustomed to these types of roads, it can be pretty hairy, but take your time and you will be fine, as it is paved the whole way. There is a fairly large parking lot with restrooms and facilities, and a short hike through a small wood takes you to the beach itself. Some call this a purple sand beach, but that is overselling it really. The sand has a very slight purple hue to it, but is not that particularly striking. However, the rock formations and crashing ocean waves are more alluring. With the heavy ocean swells and the often cooler temperatures, it's not that great a swimming beach, but the brave do venture in. However, this is more of a beach for soaking in the stunning scenery and dramatic rock formations, complete with keyhole that allows some great photos as the waves break inside. After a careful drive back up the link road, it's a short push on to our next must stop, the Nepenthe restaurant. This is a clifftop restaurant and cafe that is practically legendary. Honestly, it's really pretty average actually. The food is good but not great, it's expensive but not overly so, and it's always really busy. However, the setting is anything but average. We decided not to dine as the wait for a rail table was 40 to 50 minutes, but instead headed to the bar, picked up a nice coffee and spent some time on the open rail locations taking in the breathtaking view down the coast. Whether you do this or wait it out for the table, the Nepenthe restaurant is an absolute must stop. It's then back onto the highway as the road continues along the stunning coastline. The next section of the highway is really stunning, with a ton of great pullouts to really take in the coast. And then we come to one of the highlights of the trip, the Pfeiffer State Park, or more commonly known as McWay Falls. This really is one of the most stunning vistas we have ever seen, and almost feels fake, or at least heavily enhanced. It is truly stunning, and you will have no doubt seen the view on screensavers and such like, as it is a very famous vista, but often used without context, so you don't really know where it is, but it's right here for real in person on the Pacific Coast Highway. Unfortunately, despite the park changing the layout and forcing you to pay for entry now, half of the overlook is actually closed, meaning you only get partial views of the bay and the waterfall, rather than the iconic front-on view of the falls with palm tree. We saw that on a previous visit, but as of right now the trail is closed due to damage to a bridge. Shame on the park for not using the added park revenue to actually fix the bridge. For this trip, this was the end of the line. We had finally made it to the road closure and we needed to turn back. As of August 2024, this closure is still in place, but it is slated to open in fall 2024. But always check, as there seems to be a slip of some kind almost every winter. While this is the end of the trip, we can carry on through footage and imagery we took from previous trips. From here, the road continues along the coastline with more stunning scenery and amazing vista points. You'll pass the Esalen Institute, well worth an overnight if you can afford it, then past Lime Creek where the current closure is, past several other bridges and vista points, then it's on to our next stop, Lucia. This is a cute little town with only a few houses, one shop, a restaurant and some facilities. It's right on the cliff top and a must stop even if only briefly. You then get to Paul's Slide, where the road has been completely rebuilt, hopefully to last a little longer this time, and to avoid the lengthy closures we have just seen. And then on to the next stop, Ragged Point. Here there is a restaurant, a shop and some basic facilities, but the main reason to stop is the stunning view and the portal to the Big Sur. It's just one of those places that really blows you away. From here we now have a big push as the mountains level out and the road straightens, flattens and opens up. Things have become slightly less scenic as we approach the last stop of the day, the elephant seal colony at Piedras Blancos. This is one of the largest elephant seal colonies on the west coast and sees thousands of huge seals haul out to rest and breed. During the mating season, you'll see huge bull seals fighting it out for the right to mate, but even in quieter seasons, there is still a high chance of seeing hundreds of seals lining the beach. Just prepare yourself for the smell. Finally, we have one final bonus stop for you before your final push to the overnight, and this is Hearst Castle. We don't always have time for this stop, but if you can fit it in, it's well worth the detour. Up in the beautiful rolling hills above San Simon sits this stunning recreation of a Spanish stately villa. It features stunning architecture, incredible grounds, and acts like a living museum. Entry starts at $35 and it's well worth fitting in. From here, it will be your final push to your overnight stop. We strongly recommend an overnight in Morro Bay, Pismo Beach, Cambria or San Simon. Our favourite of these is Morro Bay, with stunning sunsets, playful otters and a nice selection of restaurants down by the harbour. For many, the following day you will carry on down the PCH towards Los Angeles. We hope you find this guide to the best stops useful. We had an epic time hunting out these for you and making the video. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like it, and we would love for you to subscribe so we can bring you more and more amazing travel content. Thanks for watching.